So hello everyone and welcome. This is Wibke from Art to Heart with Your Soul, and I'm totally excited to introduce you to my lovely soul sister Lucille DancingWind. It's been such a wonderful connection with her, and I think we met kind of like already 2 or 3 years ago. I don't quite remember. At least it's been some time that I have been able to get to know you, and I'm totally honored now to meet you because this is the first time we actually meet in person, and so there might be lots of giggles. Because it's been a journey for both of us to become visible. And so this is our little, this is our, our stepping out to be seen and to be willing to share our gifts with you. And I'm over the moon excited, as another sister would say, because there's so many gateways to access guidance. And right now, I'm just very interested in you, Lucille, because I know from your sharing with me that guidance has been playing such an important role for you, and I'm very inspired whenever you share the ways that you access your guidance and the way that guidance shows up for you. So I would be very curious how, whatever you want to share about it, like
Well, thank you so much for having me here. It's such a pleasure to finally see you.
Yeah. We actually exist in bodies.
No, it's so fun to do this, and yeah, thank you for all you said. It's really mutual. It's such a gift to connect with Soul Family, and I'm honored to have you as a soul sister.
Oh.
Yeah. So, well, guidance really begins with awareness, and as soon as you have the intention to become aware, it encourages life to guide you. It's so organic, it's actually difficult to describe because it's so natural, and it's really stepping into the world of the mystical while still in the physical. So there's a lot of things that you experience that you can't really describe in words, but we do our best. So it really starts with awareness. When you have that desire to have higher guidance, it really opens the gateway to so much more. And then it's really about keeping that door open and acknowledging what comes through. And it can be so individual too, because we're all so different in our perception and our filters. They're very unique to us. So by remaining open and taking away the little doubts and judgments and things that have been piled up on us while growing up, oh, it's your imagination, oh, all these little things that we just kind of start believing. So when you have that intention to become open to guidance, every little thing that comes up, it kind of tweaks your awareness. Simply acknowledge it.
Totally, yes.
And by doing that, you'll just, it's practice. You just see it more and more, and it becomes your way of being. It becomes part of your life. And then it's just so magical. You see how supportive life is all the time.
Yeah.
And, you know, the ancient cultures and the native cultures really have always had that with nature. But because people are so predominantly in man-made worlds now, you know, where there's not so much nature in their workplace and that, then you start seeing the numbers and all the you know, signs will come through in magazines or on Facebook or, you know, all these technology means of life conveying messages for you.
Totally.
So,
Yeah.
you
I
know,
love.
it's everywhere.
Yeah, and I love, like, because I live in the city, I love like looking at advertising outside and graffiti messages. It's
Yeah, and license
hilarious
plates.
sometimes, you know how clear they can be.
Oh yeah, I know. It's
I went on a
really
vision quest last week for my class, and there were like big graffitis of "ask" and "get going" and "you're beautiful" and stuff like that. It's really
wow.
hilarious.
I love that. Yeah, I'm really passionate about that because um, for me personally, um, when I went through those big tests of faith, and it's really a path of faith that I've been walking, you know, these past couple of years, and I feature that in the last two chapters of my book.
Hmm.
But if I hadn't had that sense of guidance, I could not have gone through that at all. There's no way I
Yeah.
would have been able to come through that. They were really the tools that I really needed to keep going and know that, you know, I was supported. So, you know, it's always there for you. And it's especially such a gift when you're going through challenges and you just need that higher reassurance that you're still doing good, just keep going, you
Hmm.
know.
Yeah. And I would be interested because for me, like, even though I've been, practicing a lot over the years and like opening myself to all kinds of messages, still, I think a lot of people wonder, how do you really know this is guidance, and how do you know this is true? Do you have any experience, or did it take you? Do you double check, or how do you make sure you know? Are there any signs for you in your body, or how do you?
That's a great question. Necessary, actually. So thank you for asking that. Um, when whenever I've gone through things that were really challenging and I really needed that visual guidance so that it overrides your mind. When you see it, your mind can't doubt it. I
Mm.
would ask for specific signs.
Mm-hmm.
That's when I ask for specific signs.
Yeah.
And I ask within a time frame so that I know this is my sign because I've requested it and it's within this time frame.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but it's all about practice too. Like the signs that I receive on a day-to-day basis, I get just a knowing, and this comes with practice, but you just have a knowing. It's almost like it would be very individual for everyone, but for me, it's just a feeling of a knowing, almost like a little glow or a little light, or
Mm-hmm.
just for me, I'm very feely as a being, so I just get that feeling of a knowing.
Right. Yeah, I'm the same way. It is like you feel it with your heart also. It's like there's a difference in it just clicks somehow. I don't know how else to
Exactly. That's a
describe
good way to describe it. It's just like a click, you know,
it.
however that shows up for you. Some people are very visual or audible, or but it's really, it all comes down to your heart knowing,
Mm-hmm.
and you just know.
Yeah.
But really, practice is the key. You can ask for signs, and really pay attention to, okay, I received that sign. How do I feel, or how does it feel for me, or what shows up that makes me know that that's what it is? What's surrounding that? And then when you're aware of that, then you can apply it to all the signs that come through. But I mean, sometimes they're just so obvious that.
Do you have like an example of like one thing that when guidance kind of like blew your mind, was so clear?
I could write a book just on that.
Another one? Yay!
Seriously, I could. Well, I
Like
mean,
one.
just yesterday, for example, and it's always about timing also, but yesterday I was driving after going for a nature hike, and I was thinking about, my book launch and everything, and just really letting that sink in, and, what it means to really share your truth. So out there, it's huge. And so, I was just kind of tuning in, like, yeah, okay, I'll just be with that for a bit before I go into the next steps. And all of a sudden, this car passed me, and the license plate was truth.
Oh.
And it was exactly in synchronicity with what I was thinking. And well, I mean, bald eagle has been so prominent lately. It's just been amazing. But like on Monday when I made the announcement, and I was like, oh my goodness, now it's out. It's officially out. And we were driving to go hiking to another trail, and all of a sudden, bald eagle showed up in its physical form. So this beautiful bird showed up and soared right beside me in the window.
Oh my goodness!
Sideways, so that I could see all its feathers, and it was so beautiful. I was just speechless. But being my power animal of really my spiritual path, it was just so beautiful to receive its presence so prominently in that moment, because it was such a huge day for me. And then it showed up again twice that day as well. So, showing up 3 times also, for the shamanic way, it's really an important number when something shows up 3 times. And so,
right?
Exactly. So, yeah, it's always, the timing is also really important.
Yeah, and I don't know if everybody knows, but you've mentioned your book launch a couple of times now.
Yeah, because that's what I'm living right now, and all these signs are popping up to say, keep going, you're doing good,
I just want everybody to know that this wonderful, beautiful woman just became a published author with Balboa Press. Yay! And I know it's been such a magical journey for you as well in kind of conceiving the book, and also in divine timing. So I'm so proud of you, because I know this is your heart gift, to the world, and this is also, like, it's hard for me to describe in words, but I can really feel how you've been walking your path, like your purpose, and bringing everything together that bringing all of your gifts and all of your essence together, and birthing this amazing book. I'm sure this is. I just want to acknowledge you and honor you for the path that you've been taking, because This is huge, Lucille. This is huge.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. And I do talk a lot about signs in that book.
Awesome. Yeah. So everybody gets a book. I believe
because, it's just...
Yeah.
Oh, I was just going to say, it's just really so amazing how the support shows up once we're open to it.
Mm-hmm. True. And something that I'm learning and that I've been, receiving is we also have to ask for it. Mm-hmm. Learn how to ask for it sometimes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that's been
definitely.
some aha effect to me.
Yeah.
No, the aha effect is like, before it's like I'm receiving guidance, and I receive guidance in many ways, through my feelings, through my art, through signs outside, through people, and the way I resonate with them. So I'm receiving all this information, but really asking, like you shared earlier, like asking specifically to be given guidance, right? So, and you even set a time frame, Mm-hmm. So this asking for it, for me, it's a very important step to also clarify for myself on what I need guidance with,
Yeah, that's a good
clear. And when the signs come, that what they mean for me, Mm-hmm. Because I can go outside and see a rainbow, and I feel that's a very pretty thing, But if I have an intention before, if I asked specifically to have a sign for something, and then I receive a rainbow or I receive something else, then the rainbow means something to me, and maybe if it's another sign, it means something else to me. I can relate it better to what I've asked before.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Mm.
Definitely. And it helps to clarify. It's that much more powerful when you've asked specifically. Mm-hmm. I've even asked for specific signs so that it's only if I see that sign that I know it's like a confirmation. I ask for confirmation signs a lot too. If I'm, still doing what I'm here to do, and walking my path, and receiving all the guidance that is given to me, show me a feather or something specific, just so that I know I'm still on track. Because sometimes things really don't look like you're on track. It seems like the more the more you're willing to evolve, the more you end up having to face certain things so that you become lighter and lighter. But you have to be willing to go through that. So that's when those signs are so good to have. But one of the most remarkable ones I ever received was when I received my name DancingWind from Spirit. Mm-hmm. And I really wanted to make sure that I hadn't imagined it when I received it, mm-hmm. because I love the name, and I could have easily imagined it. So I asked Spirit for a clear sign that day that would show me that that was my given Spirit name. And I ended up, it's a pretty long story, but I'll shorten it. What ended up happening is that afternoon I went outside in nature with my camera to take pictures because it was a beautiful summer day. Mm-hmm. And I ended up at this crossroads, and I wasn't sure why I ended up there because it was 2 gravel roads pointing in each direction, which is a pretty powerful place, but there wasn't really anything to photograph. And all of a sudden, this whirlwind appeared in front of me about my height, and it was just, spinning the dust and the little bits of grasses, and I was just so amazed to see that, and I just knew, wow, this is so in my face.
Right.
And after like 10 seconds, it disappeared, and it was just such a gift to receive that.
Wow, that is, well, pretty clear, I guess.
Yeah.
And weren't you like a little bit shocked? Like sometimes when something is so clear, sometimes I feel like, oh my God, this is actually true,
Yeah. Oh yeah, you almost get goosebumps because all of a sudden you so feel your divinity, like the oneness.
Mm-hmm.
All of a sudden you're not just this physical body. We're always so much in our minds, but you are part of this whole other divinity, and it just reminds you of that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just such a powerful thing to experience.
Right. Yeah. For me, it's also since I'm spending time with myself, so like if in those moments it's so clear that I'm never alone, So sometimes, like when we go through these depth diving into let go of something or whatever you want to call it, when you go through some shitty times, basically. And then I'm feeling all sorry for myself, and it's like, oh, I'm just poor me being alone here, It's like, somebody please. And then something actually does show up, and we're like, wow.
Yeah.
This is something that is always just so amazing to me, like how quickly it can shift me out of my my little separate self, right? So that I can, and it's so amazing to realize that everything is connected, and we're surrounded by much more than we see, right?
Mm-hmm. Definitely. That's a good point that you just made. It really reminds us how we're so connected and we're never alone. Ever. But, it is important to give Spirit permission to do these things for us, because they cannot override our free will unless we ask them to. That's one of the gifts that we have, is free will. And if we don't want them to help, they won't.
Right.
So if you do desire greater support, you have to ask so that they have that permission to be there for you. I mean, you're never alone regardless, but they'll just be there watching you and, sending you love. But they can't intervene on your behalf, unless you ask.
Right. I love that we're going back to ask again.
That was one of my biggest lessons on my path, is learning to receive.
Mm-hmm. True. Very important.
Yeah, and learning to ask and receive. Mm-hmm. But once you're able to get through that, oh my goodness, you wonder why you never why you never did that before.
Yeah, it can be so simple,
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Spirit applauds every time, we have that breakthrough. They're like, yay, we can finally, do our work with you.
Yeah. There's something like that sparked when you were talking about free will. I'm just trying to tune into what that question is that I'm having. Because there's a lot of, I think many people are afraid of or questioning, like, what is free will? And if everything is already planned or stuff, I mean, like, I'm trying to feel into like what this question is, because it just stuck out, the free will thing. I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on free will and
Well, I can only speak from my own experience, but from what I've experienced over the course of the past 4 decades is that I do feel that, you know, I came here with a mission that was discussed with my spirit team. I call them my sacred circle. And, you know, this is the path that I chose to walk. But every now and again, what I've noticed is that over the course of my life, there have been times where I could have easily exited. If I wanted to, there was my chance to exit. And they were pretty in my face, like, but every time I chose no, I'm staying, and everything worked out miraculously to keep me here. So, you know, we do have free will, and when it seems like we don't, we just have to realize that there's a lot of decisions that we made, our higher self and spirit, that our ego doesn't understand, because it can be painful, challenging, it squeezes us, it tests us. But, you know, we chose that so that we can evolve and really step into our greatness, because it's the challenges that we experience are so, they're catalysts. And yeah, there's nothing like a challenge to make us grow in leaps and bounds. So, you know, again, going back to the extra support, that's why, you know, it's such a gift to have access to that, and to really partner with that, so that we always know that this is part of my path, and I'm just going to keep going.
Yeah, and use it as confirmation that this is, you know, this is all lined up for you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Because it's very easy for our minds to question everything.
Yeah.
You know.
We're trained very well with that.
Exactly.
And I think it's good to question things. You know, it's like sometimes for me, I get an impulse, which I would call like an inner knowing, or like a voice or something, and I have been training myself to listen to it, not directly acting upon it right away, but like giving it a few more impulses, so I can really make sure this is not my ego, like, you know, like or an habitual pattern of reaction or something like that. So maybe this is something that when you share, like something shows up 3 times for you, this is like a confirmation. For me, it's if I feel an impulse, or I get a feeling or an image about something or someone, I give myself some time to have repeating impulses coming in, so it is a confirmation. And I guess you can ask also for the confirmation before acting upon it. Sometimes it's really difficult for me still, you know, to understand, is this coming from an old conditioning, it's an old pattern of reaction, or a wishful thinking or something. So getting a few more impulses or asking for clarification, I think that's a very good way of making sure this is really guidance speaking.
Yeah, I fully agree with that. That's a very, very good point. I feel things in my body. I have energy imprints from all my guides too. So if I'm not sure about something, I'll simply ask, I'll ask for a yes question so that it's very easy to answer. And I feel that yes imprint in me, so I know immediately. So that's that's a very good point that you brought up, because I do believe in questioning. It's really important to question.
Right.
But, with practice, you get to differentiate what is higher guidance and what's something else.
Right.
Yeah.
And now I understand why I was like stopping with the free will, because I know some people that I've met, not so much for me, but some people are worried if they open their channel to receive, that they're not in control anymore what they receive. And many people are not many, but I know there are some people that worry that, you know, all kinds of invitations are brought out into like evil spirits, or, you know, where you're being controlled and losing your free will. I think that's what something that would spark, you know, like the free will thing. For me, it's never been an issue, because I think I'm very clear in my intention and in my energy, and also in my boundaries, at least energetically. But I know that there's fear out there, you know. It's like so, and also, you know, there's lots of people channeling, and sometimes it's a bit questionable, I have to say. So I think I wonder, like, how. Or what would you like say to people who are afraid if they open themselves to receive guidance? How we deal with the fear? How do we set boundaries? You know, how do you do that? Do you doing that actually?
Well, I'm like you. I've never had that issue, to be honest, because I've never put my energy into those thoughts. I've always just really felt very centered and protected. And I've been in a lot of situations where I could have attracted a lot of, you know, not so nice things. But, you know, it just didn't happen because I have that field of, you know, these are my boundaries and I'm not allowing any of that. One thing that I do ask, like when I communicate with my spirit guides, is even though I know it because I have the feeling in my heart, I'll still ask them just from habit, because you can start by doing that, is you ask them, you know, are you of divine love and light? Because those that are not will not say that. From my experience anyways, they will not say that. They'll just be mute. So, but you just, it really comes with practice. And for those that, I always, you know, advise people to start small, you know, so that you exercise that muscle, so that you become more comfortable and more confident, and you're able to go on to the bigger things that, you know, might be scarier, but you're okay at that point because you have that confidence.
Yeah, and what would be like a something to start with?
Well, what you've been doing with your group is really amazing. You know, I love that, because that is really a good place to start, you know, just opening your awareness and really just paying attention to what comes up. And, you know, like I mentioned, you can ask questions, you know, something that's not a big decision that you have to make or anything like that, but just like a simple question about your life that you might even know the answer yourself already. So you ask for a confirmation, a sign to confirm that. And when it comes, then you know, and you get to start to feel also how it feels to you to receive that sign, so that you can associate with that feeling later on when you have bigger things that you're going through, you know?
Exactly. Yeah. So just so to clarify, what I'm doing with the group is I'm using drawing. I'm doing channel drawing with people where you automatically, like you tune into, you actually just letting yourself draw, like doodle, like little kids do, and so you tune into your energy, and the pen really just becomes a seismograph. I don't know how you call it.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so it really translates your energy onto the paper, and then you give yourself the freedom to draw whatever without having an image, you know. So you really let whatever wants to come through onto the paper, and later you start looking at it and kind of like start visualizing things, and you go back in and maybe you find a figure in it and you use some colors, and it's really truly amazing what shows itself, you know, without you having an image before. So this is always, and I've been doing this many years now, such a magical appearance of, wow, you know, I could have never imagined this before. Yeah. And it's always surprising. No matter how much during the drawing I'm thinking of, like, what the, you know, like, what is this? and it's very interesting to watch myself, like when I get into my judgment, that it actually stops the flow. So it's a very good tool to really feel like when you're closing the channel, when you start like questioning things in the way of doubting yourself, then usually the flow stops. You know, there's another questioning when you keep drawing and kind of questioning. So what do you want to be? Yeah, and it's kind of like a curious exploration. And so, and then you look at the drawing, and oftentimes symbols come through, and as you said, with practice, you will be able to recognize what symbols are personal to you, what speak to you in the way of how you resonate, what they remind you of from your experience, from your life. And so this is kind of another, you know, the way of accessing and training the muscles of receiving, and really getting to know your own soul's language, right? Like the way that it expresses itself, and it's very typical to specific to you, yeah. So yeah.
Yeah, I talk about that a lot in my book too, because it's so amazing, this tool that we have, that most of us never grew up aware of it, you know, or even having that extra support from spirit in the way that we know it now, you know. It's just really so incredible when you suddenly open up to that. It's this whole world that has always been the way we experience it, but we just hadn't opened that door. You know, and I do feel that when you choose to focus on the divinity and the beauty and the wonders and the love, when you're centered in love, that automatically fills your field, so that none of the so-called bad stuff can influence you. You know, if anything, there could be like little mischievous sprites But, you know, they're not out to harm you. You know, so really being centered in love is such a huge key to just walking that path with confidence and knowing that you're safe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a very good point, because I know from a healing practice, you know, we do, when I tune into those realms where, you know, there's a lot of astral beings there and different kinds, it is so important, like, to be centered and what you said, centered in love, because no matter, like, even if, you know, things like, I don't even know, I don't want to name it even. If they appear, it's like, you from my heart guidance, I'm just like guiding them or asking them to leave, basically, with the determination, but coming from heart. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that usually is very quickly that they disappear or that they're guided to the light. And so I don't, as I said, I don't have many experiences with it, because yeah, they just don't bother me, actually.
Yeah, same here, you know, so I can only offer comments from my own experience.
Yeah. Oh, wow, so beautiful. I'm just curious about if you wanted to share something about your book. So maybe, do you want to share something about your book so people will want to have it?
Well, I really feel that, you know, those that are meant to read it will feel guided to it in some way or other. You know, that's how I ended up reading the books that I have. I have two big mentors in my life who have been, you know, through their books, and they're not well known either, but they're such highly spiritual, mystical, and very tuned into nature. And so I can see why I was guided to them. And so, you know, I just love books. And I do feel that when you're ready, you're guided to the right source of information. And my book was really guided by spirit so that people can become empowered in their own trust. The whole book is really a book of love. It's about love overcoming fear and the power of love in our hearts, and it demonstrates how much power we really have within us. And when you trust yourself, you can do anything that supports you in your path, and by doing that, you benefit everyone, because we're here to be who we really are at our cores, and that energy is so powerful. The ripple effects are just amazing, because one of the biggest gifts I received from writing this book was just to be able to see the ripple effects from even 20 years ago of choices that I made because I was following my heart instead of what people were trying to influence me to do. And the ripple effects are still going, and the benefits of that have been so immense. And it's because our hearts really hold that divine key. Our heart desires are so beautifully designed so that when we honor them, it's not just about us, but about everyone. And to be able to see that was just so phenomenal. So I really wrote this book with spirit in a way that people can really learn to trust themselves and to trust that life is so supportive so that they can live an empowered life. Because that affects everything after. Once you're in your power, every choice and decision you make supports everyone as well as you. So that's why, you know, it's such a passion for me, because I've just, you know, I spent 15 years in the corporate world, and I've traveled to so many countries and met so many people, and people are really tired of being soaked into that negativity and, you know, all this stuff that can so easily overwhelm us. There's so much information out there. So, you know, when you have that self-trust, it's easy to just dissipate all that overwhelm, because then you know exactly what's best for you, and you're able to just walk that path with so much confidence, regardless of what's going on.
Yeah, I love that. I love that you mentioned this feeling of overwhelm, because I think it's a lot of people experience that in part of their journey.
And nature, you know, has been my refuge since I was little. So nature is highly featured in there as well as spirit, because they're such beautiful divine allies to have. So there's a lot of insights that I share throughout my book directly from them.
Yeah, and I know that you share a lot of personal things that were very it's quite a challenge to be so authentic and so true.
That's why, you know, really, I couldn't write the book until now. I really had to work through, you know, those fears of truly being seen and, you know, being in that spotlight where everyone will really get to know me on such a personal level. You really have to be so strong in your truth to be able to do that.
I know.
So, yeah, because those stories were picked by spirit. I had no idea what to include. And so, you know, yeah, it's really interesting.
Wow. Well, I can't wait to read it. Fortunately, it takes a little bit of time to get to Germany.
Well, even, you know, I laughed yesterday when I realized, oh my goodness, you know, a lot of people will receive their copy before I do, because because I'm in Alaska and everything takes longer to get here. So, you know, I have my complimentary copies from the publisher that I'm receiving, but, you know, some people will receive their books already this week, and I'm like, can't wait to hold that copy in my hands.
Oh, yay. That is very funny. Well, thank you so much, Lucille. I think this was very inspiring for me, and probably for anyone who will be guided to listen to this.
Well, you know what? It's always mutually inspiring, and this is something that really lights me up, you know. Just by being ourselves, we're so inspiring to everyone. You know, we mutually inspire and empower each other, and it's always such a pleasure to connect with you in any way that we do.
Totally, so likewise, and it's always in divine timing, and I find it so amazing that there's also some synchronicity sometimes in our experiences, and sometimes someone goes a little bit further and then can pick up the other. It's such it's such for me it's really very special connection with you, because it's a true heart connection, and in my longing to connect with my soul family, it's so amazing to have you.
I fully receive that. And I send you so much love. Thank you for doing this.
Oh, you're welcome.